The NFL is supposed to be bulletproof when it comes to ratings. No matter how bad a team looks, millions still tune in. That's the power of football. It's not just a sport, it's a habit. But this time, that habit broke. Sources with direct access to the broadcast numbers revealed something the league has almost never seen before. The Browns lost nearly 40% of their audience in real time. It wasn't random. The moment the starting lineup was confirmed, Joe Flacco under center, Shedeur Sanders stuck on the sideline, fans made their choice, and it was brutal. Televisions clicked off across the country. Watch parties broke up before halftime. On social media, hashtags like #PlayShedeur and #NoShedeur surged, while TikTok filled with viral clips of people shutting down the broadcast mid-game. And here's what's different. This wasn't just the Cleveland Browns didn't just lose on Sunday night. They lost something far bigger, something that could shake their entire future. Their matchup against the Detroit Lions wasn't just another primetime defeat. It was a full-scale meltdown that left fans, executives, and even the league itself stunned. This was the loyal base, the same Cleveland fans who had lived through decades of misery, who had tolerated failed quarterbacks and endless coaching changes. For the first time, even they had enough. That's not just frustration, that's abandonment. The Browns thought they were making a routine football call. Instead, they triggered a full-scale revolt. A revolt that doesn't just embarrass a team, but threatens the league's business itself. Because if one decision can erase millions of viewers overnight, what does that mean for billion-dollar broadcast deals, national sponsors, ... And the NFL's entire model of guaranteed attention? This wasn't just a bad loss. It was a warning, and the aftershocks are only starting. Numbers don't lie, and these numbers stunned everyone from fans in Cleveland to executives in New York. According to Nielsen data and multiple industry sources, the Browns-Lions broadcast suffered something the NFL almost never sees: a collapse in viewership so sharp it felt like the audience staged a walkout. At kickoff, things actually looked promising. Despite Cleveland's recent struggles, the pre-game hype drew in a strong audience. That wasn't surprising. Fans believed Shedeur Sanders might finally return. Sanders isn't just another rookie. He's a lightning rod. He brings energy, highlight potential, and the kind of unpredictable magic that makes every snap feel like must-see TV. For many fans, he was the only reason to tune in. But then came the announcement. Joe Flacco starting, Sanders not playing. And just like that, millions of remotes clicked at once. Reports suggest ratings dropped almost 40% within the first quarter, a staggering number in an industry where even a 5% swing can trigger panic. This wasn't the usual slow bleed you see when a game gets out of hand. It was immediate, sharp, and coordinated. Viewers didn't quietly drift away to another game. They quit football entirely. Analysts noticed Netflix and YouTube traffic spiking during the same window, suggesting fans weren't simply looking for competition. They were done watching altogether. One broadcast executive, speaking anonymously, summed it up: when Shedeur isn't on the field, people just don't care. Another insider went even further, calling it the most catastrophic ratings collapse we've ever seen, tied to a single lineup decision. Think about that. A coaching call in Cleveland didn't just affect one game. It broke the NFL's golden rule: fans always watch. For decades, the league has sold itself on guaranteed rating stability. But when a 21-year-old quarterback can determine whether millions of screens stay on or shut off, that stability suddenly looks fragile. And if the numbers were jaw-dropping, the reaction from fans was even louder. Because data tells a story, but the anger it unleashed told an even bigger one. If the numbers exposed the collapse, the fans made sure nobody could ignore it. What happened Sunday wasn't just frustration. It was a coordinated rebellion, the kind of backlash that spreads like wildfire and leaves scars long after the final whistle. The hashtags told the story first. #PlayShedeur, hashtag Fire Stefanski, and the brutally blunt hashtag No Shedeur No Watch exploded across Twitter within minutes of kickoff. By halftime, they dominated trending charts not just in Cleveland, but nationwide. Thousands of fans posted screenshots showing the exact moment they turned the game off, almost as if they were staging a digital protest march. TikTok lit up with videos of watch parties shutting down mid-play, families tossing remotes in disgust, and bar crowds chanting, "We want Shedeur," before flipping to Netflix. Some of those clips pulled in millions of views overnight, turning Cleveland's quarterback decision into viral humiliation. And this wasn't just the loud but fleeting anger of casual viewers. What really shook the league was who joined the movement: the diehards. Lifelong Browns supporters, people who had endured decades of losing seasons, quarterback busts, and coaching changes, suddenly walked away. For an organization built on loyalty, that kind of abandonment is unprecedented. Even local businesses felt the impact. Sports bars reported customers demanding channel changes before halftime. Season ticket holders vented on fan forums about selling their seats on the secondary market. One viral post summed it up bluntly: "The Browns without Shedeur are unwatchable. We're done until he's back." And this revolt wasn't contained to Cleveland. Fans across the country, many of them following Sanders since his college days, joined in. Some demanded refunds for NFL Sunday Ticket, while others threatened boycotts until the Browns reversed course. It wasn't just anger, it was organization, it was movement, and it left one unavoidable message. Benching Shedeur Sanders doesn't just cost games, it costs fans, money, and credibility. But if the outrage online was fierce, the disaster on the field made it even worse. Because while fans tuned out, the game itself only deepened the crisis. If the fan revolt wasn't already enough, the actual game on the field only poured gasoline on the fire. Cleveland didn't just lose. They looked lifeless, predictable, and painfully outclassed. And every snap without Shedeur Sanders made the optics even worse. Joe Flacco, the veteran brought in to steady the offense, looked anything but steady. Against Detroit's aggressive defense, he played conservatively to the point of invisibility. 3-and-outs piled up. Drives ended in punts or timid field goal attempts. Flacco checked down relentlessly, avoiding any risk, any spark, any sign of life. For fans who had begged to see Shedeur's energy, watching this vanilla offense felt like torture. Meanwhile, the Lions thrived. Their quarterback delivered explosive plays, deep shots, and highlight moments that lit up social media in real time. Detroit's offense moved with speed and confidence, while Cleveland sputtered and stalled. By halftime, the game was already out of reach. The contrast couldn't have been more painful. One team looked like the future. The other looked like it was stuck in the past. But here's what made the collapse so damning. The viewers didn't even bother switching over to other NFL games. According to industry reports, the audience didn't migrate. They disappeared. Streaming services like Netflix and YouTube reported unusual spikes during the exact same time frame, meaning football fans weren't looking for better football. They were just done watching altogether. That's a nightmare scenario for the NFL, which has built its empire on the assumption that if one game is bad, fans will still watch another. And then came the final humiliation. By the third quarter, with the Browns trailing badly, stadium energy evaporated. The few fans left in the building barely reacted, while social media roasted Cleveland relentlessly. One post that went viral read, "This isn't football, this is malpractice." The scoreboard told one story, but the bigger disaster was happening off the field. The collapse of trust, of excitement, of faith in the Browns. And the ripple effects weren't limited to fans. They shook the very foundation of the NFL's business model. The NFL is more than a game. It's a business empire. And when a single coaching decision in Cleveland triggered a 40% viewership collapse, the aftershocks were immediate and brutal. Broadcast executives were the first to sound alarms. Networks had invested billions for rights to games like this one, counting on predictable ratings to satisfy advertisers. Instead, they watched primetime numbers evaporate in real time. One executive described the moment bluntly. The Browns didn't just bench a quarterback, they benched our revenue model. Behind closed doors, panic spread quickly. League officials reportedly held emergency calls the very next morning discussing the damage. For years, the NFL sold itself as ratings proof, a guaranteed product immune to dips that sink other entertainment industries. But Sunday night cracked that illusion. If Shedeur Sanders' absence could sink a broadcast, what did that mean for future scheduling? For sponsor confidence? For billion-dollar negotiations still on the table? Sponsors were furious too. Major brands had tied their campaigns directly to Sanders' rising star, banking on his youth appeal to attract younger demographics. Instead, they were left with commercials airing during one of the most ridiculed broadcasts of the year. One marketing director reportedly fumed. "We paid premium rates for Sanders' spotlight. Instead, we're attached to dysfunction and declining ratings." Even talk of scheduling changes surfaced. According to insiders, networks began floating the idea of minimizing Cleveland's future primetime appearances to protect against another meltdown. That kind of demotion doesn't just bruise pride, it slashes national exposure, hurts local businesses, and signals to the league that a franchise is becoming irrelevant. And while the NFL tried to project calm in public, the private mood was very different. The league has always prioritized business over loyalty, and when one team's decisions start costing everyone money, pressure mounts fast. What started as a quarterback controversy had now grown into something bigger, a league-wide crisis. And inside Cleveland, the fractures weren't just external, they were tearing the organization apart from the inside. The fallout wasn't just happening on TV screens or in boardrooms, it was tearing the Browns apart from the inside. Behind closed doors, frustration boiled over as players, coaches, and executives found themselves locked in a quiet but escalating power struggle. In the locker room, veterans voiced what fans already knew. The offense without Shedeur Sanders was lifeless. One offensive lineman reportedly told teammates, "We're not just losing games, we're losing fans, money, and respect. How long are we supposed to watch this?" Defensive leaders were even more blunt. After being forced back onto the field over and over due to stalled drives, one captain vented to local reporters. "We're gassed by the third quarter. The outcome is decided before kickoff." The tension spread upstairs too. General manager Andrew Berry, who drafted Sanders, reportedly pushed hard for a change, presenting data that showed not just competitive upside, but also the marketing and fan engagement Sanders brought. According to sources, his recommendations were ignored, widening the rift between the front office and the coaching staff. For a franchise already notorious for dysfunction, it was the same old script playing out yet again. At the center of the storm stood head coach Kevin Stefanski. Once praised as an analytical, steady leader, his authority was eroding in real time. Every game, Sanders sat on the bench, chipped away at fan trust, player confidence, and league patience. Stefanski doubled down in public, insisting Flacco gave them the best chance to win. But privately, many inside the organization questioned whether his stubbornness was costing more than just wins. It was costing the Browns their future. And then there's ownership. Jimmy Haslam, already known for his impatience, was reportedly furious after seeing the ratings collapse. He faces an impossible choice: fire the coach mid-season and admit failure, or stay the course and watch the franchise's reputation crumble further. The cracks were no longer hidden. They were splitting wide open. And in the middle of it all, stood the one player who hadn't spoken much, but whose shadow loomed over everything: Shedeur Sanders. Through all the chaos, angry fans, collapsing ratings, fractured locker rooms, one figure stood at the center without ever throwing a pass that night: Shedeur Sanders. For Browns fans, Sanders wasn't just another rookie quarterback. He was the reason to believe. A college star with swagger, poise, and highlight reel instincts, he brought something Cleveland hadn't had in years: hope. From the moment he was drafted, Sanders represented a fresh identity, a franchise savior who could finally lift the Browns out of decades of quarterback misery. That's why his benching felt like betrayal. Fans didn't see it as a simple coaching decision. They saw it as robbing the team of its future, the one thing they actually wanted to watch. Sanders himself handled it with professionalism, at least publicly. He showed up early to practices, stayed engaged on the sidelines, and supported teammates without stirring controversy. But cameras still caught glimpses of frustration: the head shakes, the quiet sideline conversations with coordinators, the body language that said more than words ever could. Sources close to Sanders suggested he was beginning to question not just his role, but whether Cleveland was the right place for his long-term career. Around the league, speculation grew louder. Could the Browns really risk alienating their prized rookie? Rumors swirled online about possible trade chatter, about whether his camp was quietly weighing future options. Analysts debated whether the team was sabotaging his development or protecting him from being thrown into dysfunction too soon. Meanwhile, Sanders' star power loomed larger than ever. Sponsors wanted him. Networks wanted him. Fans demanded him. Even opposing players spoke with respect about his potential. As one marketing executive put it, Shedeur drives engagement numbers we haven't seen since the early Mahomes years. Benching him isn't just a football call, it's a business disaster. And that's what made the whole controversy so explosive. Sanders wasn't simply a backup quarterback. He had become the symbol of everything Cleveland was risking: future wins, fan loyalty, and the franchise's reputation itself. But symbols can only stay silent for so long. And the real question became, how much longer before something gives? The Browns walked into Sunday night hoping to prove they could compete. Instead, they walked out as the NFL's cautionary tale. A simple decision, starting Joe Flacco over Shedeur Sanders, triggered something far bigger than a football loss. It sparked a fan revolt, a ratings collapse, and a league-wide panic over just how fragile America's game might actually be. What happens next is uncertain, and that's what makes this story so explosive. Scenario 1. Kevin Stefanski swallows his pride, starts Sanders, and hopes the young quarterback can salvage what's left of the season. But even if he does, the damage to trust may already be done. Scenario 2. Ownership steps in, forcing the move from the top, undermining the coach but appeasing the fan base. That might fix ratings in the short term, but it would expose Cleveland's dysfunction for all to see. And Scenario 3, the most dangerous of all. The Browns dig in, keep Sanders sidelined, and watch as fans, sponsors, and even their own players abandon them in real time. Each path carries consequences. None are easy. And that's why league officials are paying such close attention. The NFL has always balanced competition with entertainment. But when entertainment suffers, business suffers too. Suddenly, Cleveland's quarterback controversy isn't just about wins and losses. It's about billion-dollar contracts, national television slots, and the credibility of the league itself. For the fans, though, the issue feels much simpler. They've endured decades of broken promises, failed experiments, and wasted potential. Shedeur Sanders represented something different, a future worth believing in. To see that hope shoved to the sidelines, it felt like betrayal. Their message couldn't be clearer: play Sanders or lose us for good. And so the Browns now stand at a crossroads, their decisions carrying weight far beyond the field. Will they listen to their fans, their players, and their business partners? Or will they cling to stubbornness and watch their franchise unravel piece by piece? One thing is certain: the clock is ticking. Because in the NFL, you can survive losing games, but you can't survive losing your audience.